Today, we're going to talk about something really tough. One of the most painful and misunderstood decisions a person can make, cutting off family. It's a choice that just goes against everything we're taught to believe. And it comes with this incredible weight that can make you feel so alone. But what if the entire story we tell ourselves about this is just completely wrong? This right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. This isn't a story about weakness or giving up. It's a story about endurance and what happens when the cost of staying finally becomes way higher than the cost of leaving. To really understand that cost, I want you to picture a scene, one that might feel a little too familiar for some of you. All right, so let's start where this feeling is often the most intense, the holiday table. You can picture it, right? The warmth, the noise, the easy laughter of a family all together. Now, imagine it's not your family. Yeah, you're at a friend's place or your partner's, and their family is just, well, a family. They're loud, maybe a little messy, they're arguing about something ridiculous. And as you're sitting there watching all this, you're holding this heavy knowledge that you don't have this anymore. And not because you weren't invited, but because you made a choice. And then it happens. Someone, totally well-meaning, asks that question, so where's your family? The real answer is a novel, right? It's way too complicated. So you just give some vague, short answer. Because the truth is, you're just so tired of defending a choice that you've already replayed in your own mind 1,000 times. So why is this choice so difficult for other people to understand? Well, it's because it flies directly in the face of this powerful, deeply rooted story we all grow up with. I mean, think about it. We've built entire cultures around this idea that family love is the purest, most sacred kind of love there is. So when somebody steps away from that, the gut reaction from the outside world is that they must be the problem. They're selfish or ungrateful or just cold. But what if the story is actually the other way around? This is where the conflict really hits. You have this societal mantra on one side, but then you have the lived reality. Think about the person who for years drove for hours every holiday just to show up and feel like a ghost at the dinner table. It's not necessarily that they felt unloved, but they felt completely unseen, where every conversation just reinforced this feeling that they weren't quite enough. And they kept going back year after year because hope is a really, really hard thing to let go of. And this brings us to a super important point. The decision to cut ties is almost never a sudden snap. It's almost always a slow, incredibly painful process. Yeah, there's actually research on this. Dr. Carl Pillemer over at Cornell University studied this for years, and his findings pretty much defy all the common assumptions. He found that it's rarely one big, dramatic fight or some single awful betrayal that causes the break. Instead, it's this, a long, slow falling apart. That phrase just nails it, doesn't it? It's years of conversations that go absolutely nowhere, apologies that never show up, and the same hurtful patterns just repeating on a loop. It's not an explosion, it's an erosion. And at the heart of that erosion, there's a very specific psychological pattern at play. Psychologists have a term for it, emotional invalidation. It's the constant, subtle message that your feelings are wrong, that your needs are a burden, and that the person you actually are, well, that person isn't welcome here. And when that message comes from the very people who are supposed to make you feel safe, it just fundamentally messes with how you see yourself and your own worth. The best way to think about it is like a leaky ceiling. Just that steady drip, drip, drip. A single dismissive comment, okay, you can shake it off. A need that gets ignored, annoying. But you move on. But over time, that constant dripping just eats away at the very foundation of the relationship until one day, the whole thing just collapses. So once that choice is finally made, is the pain over? Nope, not even close. In fact, a whole different kind of grief is usually just getting started. This is so important to get. The grief isn't always for the relationship you actually lost. A lot of the time, it's for the one that was never there in the first place. It's that moment you see someone in a grocery store who kind of looks like your mother from behind, and for a second, your chest just seizes up. That kind of grief doesn't just disappear. And then there's the guilt. That voice in your head that just keeps nagging you, wondering if you should have tried harder or forgiven one more time, or maybe just needed less. Man, it can be one of the most powerful and confusing parts of this whole process. So we have to completely reframe what that guilt actually means. It is not evidence that you're the bad guy. It's actually proof that you cared deeply. It shows that you had all this love to give, and there was just no safe place for it to land. Honestly, people who don't care, they don't feel that kind of guilt. They just walk away. But what comes after that storm of grief and guilt? Well, for many people, there's this unexpected emotional shift, something they never, ever saw coming. It's a feeling that seems to almost contradict all the pain and turmoil that came before it. Just that. Relief. And it might sound like indifference, but it's not. It's that feeling you get when you've been carrying something incredibly heavy for so long that you forgot you were even carrying it. And then you finally set it down. And this is what that relief feels like. For the first time, maybe in their entire adult life, the constant noise of that toxic dynamic, the anxiety, the second guessing, the walking on eggshells, it all just stops. And in that quiet, they can finally hear themselves again. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it is an act of survival. It's realizing there's no easy path, so you're just choosing one kind of pain over another. And sometimes, a relationship that's built on resentment and performance isn't really love at all. It's a deal. And some deals just have to end. And I want to leave you with this final thought. For anyone out there who has spent years making yourself smaller just to fit inside a family that was too small for you, please remember this. You are allowed to want more than just survival. You are allowed to choose yourself.